The 76ers actually won a basketball game and snapped their 9-game losing streak, and it all came because of a young stud who is showing tons of future potential for the 76ers. But the headline that stole the show last night was a pregame report from Shams Charania in which he detailed what Joel Embiid did in terms of going to the Sixers and giving his thoughts on his knee situation and what may or may not have been said in response. So if this is true, I honestly think this is the type of thing that could get somebody fired. We will talk about it all, but welcome into Philly Take with RB. Appreciate everybody who continues to tap in with us. We had a ton of people watching live and in the post-game show last night, a lot of callers and a lot of debates, and I love that. That's what we're here for. But I am still frustrated about the outcome and the win. And a lot of people are like, hey, why do you want this team to lose? Like, we are fans. We should want to win. And I understand that. But with the amount of twists and turns this season, you need to keep your first-round pick, which we'll talk about in a second. But I put this tweet out last night, and I said that anybody who's watched the Sixers all season, day in and day out like we have, actually knows that the young guys and the role players have played better than the stars, right? Embiid and Paul George can't move, can't run, can't jump. The young guys and the role players have actually played better. So the first day after the Sixers officially rule out Joel Embiid and I guess start out, the official tank, they come out and beat the Golden State Warriors, who had won 7 out of 8 and 5 in a row. Obviously, Jimmy Butler and Jonathan Kuminga didn't play, but the Sixers go out and they win a game, and I'm worried that they are going to start winning more games. And that's exactly what happened in the first night. And like I said, a lot of people came in and are like, hey, we should be rooting for them to win no matter what. Listen, man, you may view it like a short-term stock where it goes up one day and you're ready to buy, even though that's ready to crash the next day and you can see it coming. Meanwhile, I'm looking at the long-term investment, and I'm looking at Joel Embiid and Paul George, having 71% of the Sixers cap on an annual basis. And I'm saying the only way you're going to get better this offseason is by getting an impact player in a really good draft. And you're very close in terms of the potential of keeping your pick. And here is why it really matters, man. The Sixers are the 11 seed now, but they're not going to make any noise in the play-in or the first round. Even if they get there somehow, they're getting swept by the Celtics or the Cavs. There's just no point. And now the Sixers, with the Nets winning last night, dropped to number 7, which means their pick would get conveyed to OKC if they finish out of the top 6. And I was going to make a separate vid on this, but just a quick synopsis here. The Sixers now have the best chances of getting the 8th pick, right? And if you see here, number 6, that's where they were last night. They had an 8.6% chance of a 6 or higher. And they had, 9+% in the top 4. And I've been saying they need to get up to number 5 because look at how much the percentages jump. They have over a 10% chance at each of the top 4, 2.2% at the 5th pick, and then 19.6% at a 6th pick. So they need to get up to number 5. They were at number 6, and now they fell to number 7, which does hurt their draft stock. I know that they have 23 games left, and they're not going to lose every single game. But I'm just telling you, man, they need to try to lose as much as they can. And another response was, hey, well, do you put that on the players? No, I don't. The players can't just go out there and purposely miss shots, but there has to be a plan communicated from the management down to the coaching staff. And that's kind of where that sits. And Quentin Grimes was absolutely incredible last night. And, I don't want that to go past us. 44 points. It's not easy to drop 44 in a game. He goes 18 for 24, 6 threes. I think what I was most impressed with is just how he continued to attack. He just continued to go downhill. He scored in every way. He was relentless. And, even if the Sixers aren't trying and even in a game where Tyrese Maxey drops 5 points, goes 2 for 14, he's obviously dealing with the finger injury too. And Paul George had a big fourth quarter. I'll give him credit, but he was bad for most of the game. Even in a game where those two were bad, again, the young guys and the role players step up, and Quentin Grimes is just a dog, man. So he is showing a lot of potential for the future. I really like this kid. As you can see, Joel Embiid congratulating Quentin Grimes as he's getting interviewed after the game. That was a primetime game, by the way. So shout out to Q putting himself on the map, maybe made himself some more money. But speaking of Joel Embiid, ladies and gentlemen, the story that stole the show last night was a pregame report from Shams Charania. He came out, and I was live reacting to it on my pregame show. I'm like, what is Shams doing here? Breaking news, breaking news. And Shams pretty much says that Joel Embiid had to go directly to Joshua Harris regarding the status of his knee and about getting shut down for the rest of the season. To paraphrase, because I can't play the clip, it has copyrighted stuff in it. Joel Embiid went to Joshua Harris, and he bypassed, I guess, Nick Nurse, Daryl Morey, and pretty much said, hey, you know, I need to get surgery here. And he's told us that twice now over the last several weeks. And for a little more context, Shams Charania says that Embiid and the Sixers have had fundamental differences about his knee. Embiid believes he needs a different treatment approach towards this versus the 76ers who want him to play on it, get in better condition, and continue to play on it this year. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is just leading us towards, I think, a very ugly situation. And, you know, it's funny, they go and ask Bob Myers the first question after this, who is Joshua Harris's running mate, helps him run the Commanders, and the former GM of the Warriors, right, who Stephen A. Smith has come out and said could be the replacement for Daryl Morey if they move on. And he tried to have Joshua Harris's back. He tried to downplay this like, hey, nothing's wrong. But I can see through it all, okay? The Sixers, if they continue to force Joel Embiid to try to play through this, and he's like, no, I can't play. Like, I've been hurt since February. I mean, then you're going to start to get into a legal situation here, and it's just going to go downhill and get very ugly. The Sixers are looking at it like, hey, we still have a good team. We're trying to, you know, continue to bank on, I guess, this window and sell this to the fans and sell tickets. And Embiid's like, nah, I can't play. But the fact that he had to go straight to Joshua Harris tells me that, one, he's either really cool with Josh Harris, which I don't think is the deal. I mean, you know, Joel Embiid hasn't really given his input much over the years. He said he always stays out of that. But number two could be maybe he doesn't trust in Daryl Morey's opinion anymore. Maybe he doesn't trust in Nick Nurse. There was a pregame clip where Nick Nurse came out. He was asked about Joel Embiid and if the situation got worse. And once again, all season long, it's like Nick Nurse plays this game of trying to toe the line, you know, and he's like, hey, all I get is the reports from the medical staff. I don't get any information. I don't know. And that right there in itself is screwed up, that the Sixers make Nick Nurse go out to the podium and answer questions, and he doesn't even have the right info. You see what I mean? There's no communication from level 1 to 2 to 3 with this team. It's like everybody's doing their own thing, their own corrupting, and everybody is not even seeing eye to eye. And you don't want to be in a situation where your star player can't play and the team is trying to force him through it. You know what I said, you know, this past week? Malpractice. This is malpractice. Joel Embiid should have had that surgery before. Instead of lying to the fans all season long and telling us, hey, he's just ramping up. He's getting back in shape. You know, he's just going. He'll be okay. The guy's only played 19 games the whole season. His knee never recovered. They probably forced him to come back last year in the playoffs when he should not have. And the whole situation is an absolute disaster. But if this is true, and let's say that Embiid isn't even talking to Morey anymore, and Morey wants him to play, and that's why he came out and made those comments about squinting and, you know, this team still being able to win a championship. If that's true, then Daryl Morey will be on his way out. And also, I think Nick Nurse could be on his way out. Maybe that's what we're headed towards, just a whole reset. But this is not an optimal situation. Joel Embiid should be pissed off if this team, just to try to keep the fans in the loop, you know, is telling him to go out there and play on a knee that's obviously so bad and so piss poor right now that he can't even run down the floor. It's just unbelievable, man. But it doesn't surprise me. Nothing surprises me anymore with this team. It really doesn't. I mean, think about the fact that Paul George, you know, pretty much tells us he hasn't been locked in the whole season. And then he comes back in the last 2 games, actually gives a ton of effort. He hits an insane shot, the shot of the season last night off of 1 foot to pretty much help seal the game. I mean, Paul George pretty much spit in our faces too. Joel Embiid can't play. I mean, This organization just reeks, man. I say it every video. I mean, this is just a joke. And that's why I said the best way for this team to try to get better this offseason, despite whatever happens with these contract situations, is by getting an impact player in the draft. I mean, what if Joel Embiid can't play the next couple years and he's just making $65 million a year and just keeping that on your books, just sitting out, right? And if you're trying to press him to play, and he's even more mad now that he might just take the money and just sit there. So it's just a crazy thing. Lastly, to give it a bit of positivity here, Jared McCain watching every Steph Curry move in pregame warmups. Obviously, he met him at All-Star Weekend. And this is what greatness looks like, man. Jared McCain studying a great, went up and talked to him, and just, watching every intricate detail. And I miss Jared McCain hoops. And I can't wait till he comes back. I think this kid's going to be really special. So shout out to Jared McCain. But that's where we're at, man. The Sixers have to play the tanking game the rest of the season. They may or may not. Quentin Grimes is a bucket. I'm excited for this guy's future next to Maxey and McCain. But where do the Sixers go from here? Give me your thoughts down below. Appreciate everybody for tapping in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.